Okay, well, this is our first video that we're doing for this year, and this video we're going to talk about how to change words to past tense. So when you have a word and you want to change it to past tense, what are some of the rules that you have to do so you can get the spelling right? So firstly, before we start, past tense means that something has already happened. So if it's happened maybe yesterday or 5 minutes ago or 10 years ago, when we talk about it, we talk about in the past tense. So we're going to go through some of the different rules in some different ways, because as we've talked about before, the English language is always very confusing and there's always so many rules that we have to learn. So let's get started. Okay, so there's not just one rule for past tense words. Some words you'll see when they change to past tense, they change completely. The whole word changes. Some words you just have to end with ed. You just put ed at the end, and they're the easiest ones that we come across. You just add ed. Some you add ed, but you also have to add another consonant, which is what we're going to talk about later. And some words, interestingly enough, they don't change at all. From whether you're talking about them happening today or whether they happened yesterday, the words don't change. So let's get started. The first one we're going to talk about is words that change completely. Now, words that change completely are called irregular verbs, okay? Because they're not regular. You don't just add an ed, you change the whole word. So you got a word like run. So you wouldn't say, yesterday I run to the shops. You would say, yesterday I ran to the shops. A word like go changes absolutely completely. You wouldn't say, yesterday I goed to the beach. You would say, yesterday I went to the beach. We have things like think, like, not I thinked it was a good idea. I thought it was a good idea. Not yesterday I have a sandwich. No, yesterday I had a sandwich. Feel changes to felt. Say, some people accidentally say the word I said it, but the word would be I said it. Draw wouldn't become the word drawed. It becomes the word drew. Catch is an interesting one because a lot of people want to say the word I catched it or I catched it, but the past tense word is caught. We have sleep turns into slept. Write isn't righted, it becomes wrote. And know, saying I knowed the answer doesn't make sense. It's I knew the answer. So any word that changes completely, we call these irregular verbs. Okay? These are tricky ones that we just have to find out as we go along. Sometimes you can't really have and remember these unless you've actually learned them before. But when you do learn them, you've got to make sure you try to remember them for next time. So the next ones we have is words that don't change at all. Now, these are really tricky because a lot of times people want to put a past tense word on these ones, but they actually don't need it. So the word cut, if you were saying yesterday I cut my hair, it's because of the way the English language is, you would expect it would be cutted, but that doesn't actually make sense. So we just keep it as cut. Same as hurt. You wouldn't say it hurted me. You would still say the words it hurt me. Same as fit. Okay? Hit doesn't become I hitted the ball. It still becomes I hit the ball. Put. So you'd say, yesterday I put my clothes away. You wouldn't say, yesterday I putted my clothes away. And same as cost. Yesterday it costed me $10. Doesn't make sense. It stays the same as cost. Once again, these words are tricky because you have to actually learn these words. But once again, once you learn them, you'll remember that this is the way that you need to use these words. So sometimes the words don't change at all. Then we have the easiest ones, which is words that you just add an ed at the end. These are the most common one that you'll find and the easiest one. Basically, you just take the word, unless it's already got an e on the end, and you just add an ed. So we have play becomes played, close becomes closed, talk becomes talked, crash becomes crashed with an ed, pour becomes poured, watch becomes watched, wash becomes washed, and help becomes helped. Now, these words all have an ed. Now, the trickiest part is the one we're going to talk about next, is when you actually add a double letter. A double letter basically means you're adding the same letter but again. So if you have the word here, like stopped, it has a double P here. But when do we use these? Well, we're going to get to that. But let's have a look at some of these words first. We have stop becomes stopped with a double P. Tap, you add an extra P on the end, and then the ed. Plan, you put an extra N on, and then ed. Shop becomes shopped with a double P. Skip becomes skipped with a double P, and trip becomes tripped with a double P as well. So how do we know when to use them and when to not use them? Well, firstly, once you actually do learn how to write it this way, you'll realize it doesn't actually look right when you only use one of the letters. Let's have a look. So the way we need to do it is by hearing what we've been talking about last term, which is the short vowel and the long vowel. When they say the short vowel, what we mean is that, oops, sorry, wrong pencil, that the A sound, okay, the short A is the A that you get taught in kindergarten, that A makes A. That's the short vowel. The long vowel is when the A makes the letter that it is, which is the A sound. So a short vowel is the letter, like basically think about what you learn in kindergarten. That's the short vowel. A makes A. The long vowel is that A makes A. Just like the short vowel for O would be O, and the long vowel for O would be O. The short vowel for I would be it, and the long vowel for I would be I. If it makes the short vowel, like in hop, when you read hop, op, the O is the O, which means the short vowel. If it has a short vowel, then that means if you're making into a past tense, you need to add a double letter. So if you have a word like hop, has the short vowel here, so you need to make sure you put the double letter on. Whereas hope, hope has the long vowel, and you don't need to add a double letter. All you do is do that one. Okay, it might sound confusing, and if it sounds confusing, you can go back and watch the video again, or we can go through some together, and hopefully you'll start to get the hang of it. Let's go through some of the questions, some of the answers together, and we'll see if we can learn which ones were which. Okay, let's start with the word pin. Okay, so you could say, I pinned the badge to him. Let's have a look. Is the sound a short vowel or a long vowel? It. Oh, that sounds like a short vowel. Remember when we said if there's a short vowel, then we need to add in a double letter. So, it, or we need a double N and then an ED. Let's have a look at eyed. Oh, that sounds like the long vowel because that's actually the letter that it is, which is an I sound. So, eyed. So for hided, well, actually, hided is not a word, is it? Hide actually is a tricky one because hided becomes hid. So this one is what we would call an irregular vowel. Sorry, irregular verb. Let's have a look at wipe. Wipe. I. That's the long vowel, so I'm going to make sure I just change it to an ED, which is wiped. Now we have it. Flipped. So flipped would be the it. That's the short vowel, which means I need the double letter flipped. Op. O is the short vowel for O, so we need another double letter, op. Now if you didn't do that, if for flipped you just put one, now that word, if I was going to pronounce that word would be fliped. And fliped isn't a word. So you need to make sure you put a double letter. Just like if I only put one P for this one, it would be moped. Okay, because we need to keep the O sound the same. Okay, and what about shut? What would happen to shut? Well, shut's actually one of those irregular ones, but this one doesn't change at all. Shut stays as shut. It doesn't become shutted, it stays as shut. Maybe we should try one more just to see how we go. All right. Okay, let's start with the word throw. Now, throw. O. Now that O sound actually has the long vowel, so I don't think we would need the double letter. We can just add ing, throwing. Let's try a different one. What about the word spin? In the word spin, we can hear it, which is the short vowel, which means I need a double letter. Because if I just use one N here, like this, that would make it sound like the long vowel, which would be spining, and we don't want that. Okay? So, to finish off, one of the things to remember is if you have a short vowel, like a it, or an o, or an a, or an or an e, we need to make sure if we're changing it to a past tense, we add a double letter. But if it's a long vowel, we just add the ed at the end. But remember, some verbs are irregular and might not even have the ed. They might change completely, or they might not change at all. If you found this video too difficult, make sure you let me know so I can make them easier for next time. If you thought they were helpful, can you also let me know as well? I hope you guys have learned something. Thank you.